Conversation 1, Week 9, Adverbs of Frequency.
Hello, class. When we talk about adverbs of frequency, we often talk about how often you do something or how often you are something. For example, how often do you drink coffee? I always drink coffee in the morning. I sometimes drink coffee in the afternoon if I am tired. But I never drink coffee at night. After 7 p.m., if I drink coffee, I stay awake all night. So, to get good sleep, I never drink coffee after 7.
Adverbs of frequency. We use adverbs of frequency when we want to talk about how often we do something or how often we are something. We use the questions, how often do you chum chum chum? Or how often are you chum chum chum? Asking these questions can really build a dynamic for your English conversation. But first, let's take a look at the adverbs of frequency. Always. Always is an adverb of frequency that is 100%. For example, I always drink coffee in the morning. That means that every morning I drink coffee 100% of the time. Sometimes. Sometimes is an adverb of frequency that describes something you do 50% of the time. For example, I sometimes drink coffee in the afternoon. That means in the afternoon I might have a cup of coffee. Really, it is 50% I do and 50% I don't, depending on how tired I am. Never. Never is an adverb of frequency that describes 0%. For example, I never drink coffee in the evening. That means at night I will never have a cup of coffee 0% of the time because it will keep me awake. These adverbs of frequency, always, sometimes, never, can be used to dynamically help your English conversation. Always is something that you do 100% of the time. Sometimes is something you do 50% of the time. And never is something you will do 0% of the time. Always, sometimes, never. Make a range from 100% to 0%. There are other words that describe the frequency of something. Almost never, hardly ever, rarely, seldom, occasionally. These words describe something that you might do between the range of 50% and 0%. There are no set percentages for these words, but they are less frequent than sometimes. I like to think of them in this range. Almost never, 5%. Hardly ever, 10 to 15%. Rarely, 15 to 25%. Seldom, 25 to 30%. Occasionally, 30 to 50%. Other words describe the frequency between sometimes and always, the range between 50% and 100% of the time. These words are frequently, often, usually, almost always. Again, there are no set percentages for these words, but I like to think of them like this. Frequently is 50 to 60%. Often is 60 to 70%. Usually is 70 to 80%. And almost always, well, that's somewhere between 90 and 100%. Being able to use adverbs of frequency allows you to speak in a more colorful way and makes it much more interesting to have conversations. In this class, you will not be responsible for all of these adverbs of frequency, but you will be responsible for always, 100%, sometimes, 50%, and never, 0%. So you need to know those. There are 3 rules to using adverbs of frequency in English. The first rule is the adverb of frequency goes before the verb. For example, I always do my homework for English class. Always, the adverb of frequency, comes before the verb, to do. Another example. I sometimes do my homework for art class. Again, the adverb of frequency, sometimes, 50% of the time, comes before the verb, do. So artwork gets done 50% of the time. Another example. I never do my homework for math class. Never, the adverb of frequency, comes before the verb to do. And it means 0% of your math homework gets done. So, to repeat, the adverb of frequency goes before the verb. I always do, I sometimes do, I never do. The second rule for using adverbs of frequency is the verb to be is powerful. It goes before the adverb of frequency. For example, I am always hungry before lunch. Always comes after the verb to be because the verb to be is powerful. Another example. I am sometimes hungry when I wake up. Again, the verb to be is very powerful. It comes before the adverb of frequency. Another example. I am never hungry after I eat at Vips. The verb to be, am, comes before never, the adverb of frequency, because it is powerful. I am always. I am sometimes. I am never. To repeat, the verb to be is powerful. It goes before the adverb of frequency. The third rule for using adverbs of frequency is that sometimes is magical. It can go anywhere, even before the powerful verb to be. Let me give you some examples. I am sometimes hungry before lunch. Now here the verb to be comes before sometimes, the adverb of frequency. This follows rule number 2, so it's good. Here's another example. Sometimes I am hungry when I wake up. This also is fine because sometimes it's magical. It can go anywhere. Let me give you another example. I am hungry sometimes after I eat at Vips. Now here sometimes has come after the verb to be. So it's okay. All three of these sentences are fine because the properties of sometimes allows it to go anywhere. I think sometimes is my favorite adverb of frequency. Now, if you remember from our last video lesson, I told you I like coffee. Do you remember? Of course you do. Well, let's talk about that because I don't like coffee all the time. How often do I drink coffee? Let's take a look. Even though I like coffee and I drink it every day, I don't drink coffee all day. There is a range of times when I will drink coffee and I won't drink coffee. I always drink coffee in the morning. It's one of my favorite things to do. I wake up, I make a nice cup of coffee, and my day starts nicely. 100% of the time, I will drink coffee in the morning. I sometimes drink coffee in the afternoon. If I am feeling a little tired and need a pick-up, I will drink a cup of coffee. But if I do not need a pick-up, I will not drink a cup of coffee in the afternoon. It is 50% I will, 50% I won't. So, I sometimes drink coffee in the afternoon. I never drink coffee at night. This means when it is evening time and I'm looking forward to going to bed, I will not drink coffee at all. 0%. If I drink coffee, I will not be able to sleep. So, I never drink coffee at night. Coffee. I drink coffee every day, but I have a range of times when I will drink it. Adverbs of frequency help me describe that everyday experience, and they can help you too. Well, let's go ahead and practice asking questions about these adverbs of frequency. As you look at the pictures and hear me ask the questions, go ahead and make your own answers to them. Use as many adverbs of frequency as you can. Are you ready? Here we go. How often is it tired? The baby is always tired. How often does it sleep? The baby sleeps 4 times a day. How often do they jog? They almost always jog every day. How often is he late for work? He is frequently late for work. How often does it come? The bus comes sometimes twice an hour. How often does she swim? She occasionally swims in the summertime. How often is he hungry? He is always hungry before dinner time. How often do they go fishing? They always go fishing on nice days. How often does she shop online? She rarely shops online. How often do they practice soccer? They usually practice soccer 2 times a week. often do they go to the movies? They hardly ever go to the movies. How often do they travel by balloon? They almost never travel by balloon. How often are they flying? They are often flying around lunchtime. Okay, super. That was some great practice. Now, what about you? How often do you chom chom chom? How often are you chom chom chom? How often do you go to the singing room? How often do you go dancing? Shots, 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 shots. How often do you drink soju? Okay, super. What about your best friend? How often does he wash his hands? How often does she wear a mask?
Well, class, I think that's enough for today. I hope you enjoyed this video lesson. Remember, wash your hands, wear a mask, and stay
Corona free, baby. Yeah.